Hello residents, I am back again, and today I am going to bring you a trivia game. I am going to do trivia through the decades, and today's trivia game is the 1920s. So now if you are interested in playing, Kristen tells me there are prizes to be won. So if you would like to play trivia, I want you to get a paper and something to write on, and you're going to write down your answers. You're going to turn them into Kristen, and the top 3 people with the most right answers are going to get a prize. This just helps make it a little more competitive, which sometimes makes it a little more interesting. Okay? There are going to be 5 categories today. And how we're going to work it is, I'm going to give you the category, I'm going to tell you the number, I'm going to give you time to write your answer, and at the end of the game, I'm going to go back and give you the answers. Okay? And you have to have turned your papers in so that we don't want anyone changing their answer. Not that I think any of you would. But the people who have the top 3 highest amount right are going to get prizes. Okay? So I'm going to give you a chance to make sure you're ready to go. Our first category is fashion of the 1920s. So this is question number 1. Okay? In the 1920s, women began wearing beaded dresses because they were inspired by what group of people? I'll say that again. Number 1, women began wearing beaded dresses because they were inspired by what group of people? Just number your answers, okay? And this is fashion is the top category. Number your answers, and so when we go back to check them, you can follow along. Okay, if you're ready, question number 2. T-strap heels, or this shoe bearing the name, let me repeat that. T-strap heels or this shoe bearing a woman's first name became popular in the 20s. What is that shoe? Again, number 2, T-strap heels, or this shoe bearing a woman's first name became popular in the 1920s. Is everybody ready? Okay, number 3. What style of sock in the 20s became popular with men and often paired with golf pants? Number 3, what style of sock became popular with men and was often paired with golf pants? Number 4, what hairstyle became extremely popular with women during the 1920s? What hairstyle became extremely popular with women in the 1920s? Okay, number 5. This is the last question in the category of fashion. By 1925, wider trousers came into fashion. What were these trousers known as? By 1925, wider trousers came into fashion. What were these trousers known as? Now, too, at this point, if people feel they need more time, Krista could pause this video if she's capable of doing that while it's streaming, and go back and allow you all to hear the questions again if you need them. But those were the first 5 questions in our first category entitled fashion. We're moving on to category number 2, and this is music. Okay? So category number 2 is music, and there are 5 questions. Question number 1. The 1920s are often known as the Roaring '20s, or the decade is known as this. It is symbolized by the style of music that suggested the decade's sense of liberation. The 1920s are often referred to as the Roaring Twenties, or it is known as this. It is symbolized by the style of music that suggests the decade's liberation. So basically, the 1920s is known as the Roaring Twenties or blank. Number 2. 3 major inventions made music more accessible than ever before during the 1920s. You need to just name one of these inventions. Okay? So 3 major inventions made music more accessible than ever before during the 1920s. Name one of these 3 inventions. Okay, question number 3. One of the most popular musicians of the time was also a composer who played a prominent role in the so-called age of Tin Pan Alley. Who is this musician? Number 3 again. One of the most popular musicians of the time was also a composer who played a prominent role in the so-called age of Tin Pan Alley. Who was this musician? Number 4. One of the top 10 songs of the 1920s was entitled My Man. Who sung it in the 20s and made it popular? One of the top 10 songs of the 20s was My Man. Sung by whom? Who made it popular? And the last question, question 5 in this category. Fats Waller had a top 10 song in the 20s. What was it called? Fats Waller had a top 10 song in the 20s. What was it called? Again, if possible, this can be paused and replayed if you would like to hear the questions. Repeat it again. Otherwise, we're moving on to our next category entitled Hollywood. So this is category number 3, and it again has 5 questions in it. Question number 1. After about a decade of experimental techniques, there was a transition to sound on film technology and the birth of blank or the tailing pictures came about. I'm looking for the blank. So again, after about a decade of experimental techniques, there was a transition to sound on film technology. And with this came the birth of blank, or what is known as the tailing pictures. Question number 2 under Hollywood. 2 studios were crucial in the development of the technology on sound in movies. One of those studios was Fox Studios. What was the other studio? 2 studios were crucial in the development of the technology of sound in movies. One of those studios was Fox Studios. What was the name of the other studio? Okay, question 3. In the 1920s came the birth of this award, and it is now a well-established and well-known award. So in the 20s came the birth of this award. Number 4. One of the biggest stars of the 20s was the actor from the movie The Great Dictator? Who was this actor? One of the biggest stars of the 20s was the actor from the movie The Great Dictator. Who was this actor? And question number 5, the last question in this category is, how much did a movie ticket cost in the 20s? How much did a movie ticket cost in the 20s? And that ends the category of Hollywood. Our next category, or our 4th category, is slang. Now, how this is going to work is there are 10 questions in this. I'm going to give you the slang term used in the 20s, and you're going to tell me what it refers to. Okay? So I give you the slang term, you tell me what it refers to. Number 1 is a bim. If you use the term bim, what are you referring to? And bim is B-I-M. Okay, question number 2, stool pigeon. If you call someone a stool pigeon, what are you saying about them? Okay, number 3 under slang. If you refer to someone as a moll, M-O-L-L, moll, what does that term mean? Okay, number 4, if you say bump off, what does that mean? Number 5, if you call someone a blue nose, what are you calling them? Question number 6, to pinch something means what? To pinch something means what? Question number 7 in slang, hooch. The term hooch, H-O-O-C-H, refers to what? I learned a lot doing this category. I didn't know what all these were. Number 8, hard-boiled. I'll give you a hint. It was often used to refer to men. Hard-boiled. Number 9, hoofer. Hoofer. And the last one, number 10, gams. Gams. G-A-M-S. That was our last question in the category of slang. Okay, if you're ready, we're going to go to our final category. There are 5 questions, and this category is entitled World Shaping Events. Number 1, what president in 1920 traveled to Paris to negotiate the Treaty of Versailles? What president in 1920 traveled to Paris to negotiate the Treaty of Versailles? Question number 2. On September 6th, 1920, 38 people were killed in what became known as blank. They considered it one of the worst terrorist attacks the United States had ever seen. On September 6th, 1920, 38 people were killed and hundreds were injured in what is called blank, considered one of the worst terrorist attacks on the United States. Number 3. As a result of a series of bombings in 1919, the Attorney General mounted a campaign to capture and deport foreign radicals. A young lawyer would lead the raids, and this young lawyer would go on to mount an illustrious career due to this. Who was this young lawyer? I'll repeat that one again. As a result of a series of bombings in 1919, the Attorney General mounted a campaign to capture and deport foreign radicals. A young lawyer would lead these raids, and this would lead him to go on to have an illustrious career. Who was this young lawyer? Question number 4. Women gained the right to vote in the 1920s. The last yes vote needed to ratify the amendment came from which state? So I'm looking for the state here. Women gained the right to vote in the 1920s. The last yes vote needed to ratify the 19th Amendment came from which state? And the last question, number 5. What Italian immigrant to the United States found a loophole in the international reply coupon and as a result set up a business he called the Security Exchange Company? So I'm looking for that Italian immigrant's name. What Italian immigrant found a loophole in the international reply coupon and set up a business he called the Security Exchange Company? Okay, so at this time, I'm going to go back through and give the answers. Okay? Remember, if you want to play for a prize, you have to turn your paper into Kristen or someone on her staff who can check and see who were the top 3 people to get the answers right, and then you get a prize. And I hope it's a good prize. So Kristen, make sure they're good prizes. Okay? So we're going to go back to the top. Category number 1 was fashion. The first question was, women began wearing beaded dresses inspired by what group? The answer to number 1 was the flappers. Okay, the flappers. Okay, question number 2. T-strap heels, or this shoe bearing a woman's first name, became popular in the 20s. They were called Mary Janes. I believe they're still around today. Question 3. What style of sock became popular with men and were often paired with golf pants? This sock is the Argyle sock. Number 4. What hairstyle became popular with women in the 1920s? The answer to this was the bob. And number 5 in the first category of fashion was, by 1925, wider trousers came into fashion. What were these wider trousers known as? This one I'd never heard of. They were called Oxford bags. Oxford bags. Okay? So that ends number 1. Hi, it's Gideon, everyone. Just came to say hi. He'll be making a video later. Okay? Okay. Bye, Giddy. Okay. Category number 2's answers. If you recall, this category was music. The 1920s are often known as the Roaring 20s or the Jazz Age. So the answer I was looking for was the Jazz Age. Jazz became really popular music style They said jazz embodied the sense of liberation people were feeling in the 20s. Number 2, 3 major inventions made music more accessible to people. Here are the 3 inventions. You only needed one: the phonograph, the radio, or the record player. Any of those answers count as being right. Okay, number 3. One of the most popular musicians of the time was a composer who played a prominent role in the age called Tin Pan Alley. That composer, that's Gideon just goofing around. That composer was George Gershwin. Okay, number 4. One of the top 10 songs of the 20s was My Man. And that song became popular and was sung by Fanny Brice. So number 4, My Man, was sung by Fanny Brice. So Fanny Brice was the singer I was looking for. Fun fact, she was who the story Funny Girl was written on. Okay. Okay, number 5. Fats Waller had a top 10 song in the 20s, and it was called Ain't Misbehaving. So Ain't Misbehaving was the song title I was looking for. Okay, the next category was Hollywood. This had 5 questions. Number 1, after about a decade of experimental techniques, there was a transition to sound on film technology and the birth of talkies. Talkies was the answer I was looking for. It was also known as tailing pictures, but talkies is what it is most popularly known as. Okay, question number 2. 2 studios were crucial in the development on sound technology in movies. One I told you was Fox Studio. The other studio I was looking for was Warner Brothers. Number 3, in the 20s came the birth of this award. In the 20s came the Academy Awards, or I would accept Oscars as we often call them. But the 20s was the birth of the Academy Award. Number 4, one of the biggest stars of the 20s was the actor from the film The Great Dictator. This actor was Charlie Chaplin. And the last answer in this category, how much did a movie ticket cost? A movie ticket cost 27 cents. Wow, could you imagine? 27 cents. Okay, so now was my favorite category, which was slang. Okay? I'd heard a lot of these terms, but I didn't know what they all meant. A bim refers to a woman. She was called a doll, a broad, or a bim. Number 2, a stool pigeon. This is a person who informs to the police, or you could say an informant. A moll is a gangster's girlfriend. So it's kind of like a doll, but with an M. And it specifically referred to a gangster's girlfriend. Okay, number 4, to bump off means to murder or kill somebody. 5, a blue nose is a prude. Okay? If you had anything synonymous with that, they also called it puritanical, or they often referred to a Puritan from the century before, but I'd accept prude. To pinch means to steal. Number 7, hooch. I would have thought this meant like a person, but it means bootleg liquor. Hooch is bootleg liquor. Hard boil means tough guy. Tough guy. Or I'd take strong guy or anything synonymous with that. A hoofer is a dancer. They were known in the 20s as hoofers. And gams refers to a woman's legs. Gams. Look at those gams, I think is how they used it. So number 10 is a woman's legs. Now you know some new terms you can use too. Okay, and the last category, which was world-shaping events. Number 1, what president in the 20s traveled to Paris to negotiate the Treaty of Versailles? That was Woodrow Wilson. So the answer I was looking for was Woodrow Wilson. Okay? Number 2, on September 6, 1920, 38 people were killed and hundreds were wounded in what was called the Wall Street bombings. Until 9/11, they considered it the greatest terrorist attack on the United States. So I was looking for the Wall Street bombings. Number 3, as a result of a series of bombings in 1919, the Attorney General mounted a campaign to capture and deport foreign radicals. A young lawyer led these raids and went on to have an illustrious career. This young lawyer was J. Edgar Hoover. Okay, number 4. Women gained the right to vote in the 20s. The last yes vote needed to ratify the 19th Amendment was from which state? That state I was looking for was Tennessee. I never would have gotten that. Tennessee. And the last answer. What Italian immigrant found a loophole in the international reply coupon and set up a business he called the Security Exchange Company? This immigrant was Charles Ponzi, and this is where we get the Ponzi scheme. He was a salesman who found a loophole, learned how to make money, and set up this scheme by using investors. And so I was looking for Charles Ponzi, or if you had Ponzi because you didn't know his first name, I think that qualifies as a right answer. Okay? I hope Kristen lets me know who won and what the prizes are. I hope they're really great. And I'm going to come back and bring you trivia of the 30s. So we're going to keep going through the decade. If any of you have suggestions on trivia you like, please let me know. I know that my husband Joe is going to create some sports trivia. As Kristen said, there are some sports buffs there. But if you have any suggestions of even just a category you would like to see within a trivia game, please just let Kristen know and she can let me know, and I am happy to find trivia in that category. I'm also going to be working on my next installment of the Miss Marple Mystery Series, and that should be coming out within the next day or two as well. I hope you enjoyed trivia. It's interesting to see what you know, and I hope to hear some feedback on you for the next trivia game. Okay, be safe and take care. Bye.